What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Salt Podcast. Today is a little bit different because we have cameras this time. Woo 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 woo. Oh, and this is a table talk episode. Forgot to do that intro. So I got the crew with me here at my house. What's up, guys? How goes it?
It's going.
It's going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It goes.
Actually, there we go. Yeah, it's going.
Readjust. How about you, Anna? You doing okay?
No, very much the same. It goes.
Okay.
It goes well.
Good. For some reason, I
feel
can't
these,
see.
I feel these cameras watching
Yeah,
me now. It's a
you
little
have
bit different.
You have to explain like what you're doing in the costume.
Well, I look like Fu Manchu.
Alvin here.
All right, I had an office. I'm a real estate agent, so I had an office party at the village. Well, I got to explain what's going on. So it was an office party.
Flex over here.
They had this event at the village, so I
Right.
dressed up. I was dressed up as Jack Sparrow. So that's I super glued the Fu Manchu on my face, so I can't get, and the eyeliner won't come off.
He's like fully committed over here.
So
I love this.
I took off most of it, but I mean, maybe I should have just left the whole thing on. I don't know. It's out of context now.
Alrighty, let's do a quick check-in, everybody. So, what have we been up to since our last episode?
Struggling. I've been struggling a lot. Just because of school. So, like the beginning of school, I had a lot of time. And I felt like kind of like, oh, you know, like I'm just going through it and like this is
It'll be
fine.
great.
Yeah. And then now, I forget last semester, like my friend was talking about, he's like, dude, like this is the, like next semester is the semester where everybody's like, or like just for the rest of your time at school, everybody's like, yeah, like you end up hating your life. And so I'm like,
Wow.
I'm like, why? Like at the beginning I was like, what do you mean? And then like now I'm just like, I'm trying not to hate it. I just basically like all last week and the week before I had a project. So I was working on my project for like literally every single day, falling behind on my other classes. So I took the whole weekend to just like catch up on those. And now we have another project due in like 2 weeks. And I'm still trying to get like this stuff done. And yeah, so I'm just stressing out. But literally grace of God, like I've been able to get my stuff done on time and still like, you know, have time to go to mass and like basically be a Catholic. Like I was just praying. I was like, please do not let my schoolwork take me away from like living my faith out, because too, like I would also get really grumpy and I would just be like, I don't want to like talk to nobody. I don't want to go outside. Like the sun.
Constantly hangry.
Yeah. And so it's just like, you know, yeah, it's been really nice. Especially like the rosary's been holding me down for right
That's
now.
good.
So like, yeah.
I think that's come up quite often. I've had several people be like, oh, I'm so busy, or this is going on, or whatever. And I'm just like, and for me personally, this has come up as well, where it's like, oh, what happens if I'm so busy that like blah, 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 like I can't make it to mass or something like that. You know, not that that's ever been an issue, but I'm just realizing more and more, the more time that I have made for God, it feels like the more time I have in general. So it's like, I've been noticing people in my life who are like, oh, I'm so worried about this, and I'm like, dude, literally go to adoration and you'll find like an extra hour in your life. Like, trust me. Like, it's crazy. It's like magic.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the only advice that I have. Don't stress about it.
Yeah. No, it's been good. Like it hasn't been as bad as I thought. Like it hasn't been as bad as I thought. So it's been like, you know, I'm just trying to deal with it. And it's not going to be forever. So, you know, softening it up.
That's
that's
the biggie right there, is remembering that is tough for sure.
Yeah.
Sweet. How about you, Anna? What's up?
What's up? I live in life. I'm enjoying work. It's a lot of fun.
Good.
It's kind of crazy though. There's just been a lot going on, and it's like the busiest time of the year for us. So like very tired. Just been working long days, but it's really good. I'm enjoying it. I started doing a little bit of like volunteering, which has also been really, really fun, and just really good and challenging in ways that I was not expecting. It's like teaching second graders, and it's
gosh.
like it's a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
I know. I know.
Yeah. So it's like a lot of like, okay, do I know what I need to teach them? How do I actually connect with them? And yeah, but that's been a lot of fun. A lot of, like, definitely challenging me in ways that I think I need to be challenged. And I find that I'm just a lot happier in general.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Sweet. All right. Well, Anna's over here killing it. How about you? He's like, actually,
I'm
dying
more on
inside.
that Andrew's wavelength. Yeah, I'm just trying to survive over here, but no, yeah, it's interesting. Like, kind of like Trinity, what you're saying about, you know, going to adoration for an hour or something like that. Another hour will magically appear in your day or something like that. It's like, I think when you align your priorities right, it kind of all adds up and works better out for you in the end. But honestly, it's kind of been the rosary keeping me tied down too. I've been having trouble falling asleep, so I've been praying the rosary. I should say half the rosary. I don't think I finish it before I fall asleep.
There you go.
But that's been kind of tying me down and helping me. And then I think it helps me wake up earlier the next morning too, when I actually wake up to my alarm. But yeah, just trying to live life and get this bag up, like.
All right.
Just working and just trying to figure out a good balance, you know, every day, every week, every month between work and, you know, learning and living life and, you know, all these different things. So it's just you know, it's fun.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, I mean, it sounds like we're all doing okay. And we'll take it at that. And that is good. But great that you guys brought up the rosary, because we're going to talk about Mama Mary, right?
Yeah. Wait, how are you doing?
Oh yeah.
Before we do that,
you tried to skip it
Curse
over.
yeah.
I tried to use my host authority and it didn't work. I'm actually doing pretty good. Had some good healing happen. I was kind of in a dark spot for a while, you know, where you're just like unhappy all the time. And so I've kind of gotten out of that a little bit. And I have an amazing career coach who just like meets whenever I need to. And it's honestly cool because it went from kind of like a formal relationship to now like she calls me like a friend, and so now I'm like, oh, I have this really cool lady who's my friend, and she knows everyone, and she's really, really talented. And anyway, so that's really cool to have kind of like a life coach, honestly, because she's very spiritual and whatever, and she wants to start a podcast, and so it was just really cool to have to take the initiative on my part. Like, I'm proud of myself for taking the initiative to meet with her and be like, hey, look at my resume, and now it's like, hey, I need help, and she's like, okay. You know, so that's really cool. So if you have somebody in your life that you think would be a good resource for you, like, take advantage of that, guys, because it can turn into such an excellent, like, source of peace. Like, that's what she is for me. Like, when I start freaking out about work or whatever it is, like, we meet and she just like kind of talks me off the ledge, quote unquote. But you know what I'm saying. So yeah, but besides that, just family time. I love October. It's my favorite month, so I'm very happy. I love fall and Halloween and everything. So I'm in a good spot. Fall is when I'm at my like peak happiness, and then summer is when I like hate my life.
All the holidays are over for a while.
Exactly. Yeah, but also I just hate heat. So
Yeah.
Cool. All right, back to it. Mama Mary. So, has she been coming up for you guys as much as she's been coming up for me recently?
Big time. I think just like the month of it's October, so it's the month dedicated to the rosary, and so I made it to point to like pray like a bunch of rosaries like during the day. So I'll pray like one when I wake up, and like the middle of the day, and then one before I go to sleep, and like that has literally like, I don't know what it is, but it's like every like kind of almost like sin or like problem that kind of I would just kept falling back into. It just like rooted me out of it. Like, I don't know, like it's just so powerful. And like just being able to meditate on the mysteries of like Jesus's life, like just within this past like 2 weeks, it's just been like phenomenal. And she's awesome. She's really like helping me out right now just to get through like school and all that. Like, so I'm very, very happy with like my relationship with her right now. It's going good. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I know that I've noticed that in just prayer in general, not necessarily the rosary, I haven't quite found my devotion to the rosary yet, but I do understand and appreciate it as a tool and as a weapon, as a part of God's army. Like, I do understand the value of the rosary. So don't think that I don't, but I'm just not there on my spiritual journey yet to do the rosary every day. But as far as prayer goes, I have noticed that those sins that I've repeatedly fallen into for years and years and years, now that I'm like, for some reason it took me this long, but to like offer them up and be like, here's this sack of garbage, I need you to take it right now, thank you, you know. And I just fit, like, even if I need to visualize that image of handing Christ a bag of garbage, I'm like, I need you to take this right now, because I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I don't want to be this anymore. And before, it's like, we tend to be afraid of our sins, right? Or we tend to be like, oh no, I need to deal with this so I can be holy. And it's like, God doesn't care. Like, he wants you to just hand it over because he wants to take care of it. Just like that's why Christ carried the cross. And Mary's the same way. Like, she's with us, she has her mantle, and all we have to do is be like, hey, I need it right now. Like, just wrap me in your mantle. And she's like standing there like, let's go. Yeah. And like waiting for us to ask for help. Yeah. And that's just what's kind of been more and more apparent to me, is that I need to start reaching out to Mary more because of her influence with her son. Like, you hear that over and over again. It's like, oh, you know, to Jesus through Mary. And, you know, all us cradle Catholics are like, yeah, Mary. But then we start to, like, understand, like, no. She is, like, we forget almost the humanity of Mary. Like, she's a human being. Like, fully. She's not like Jesus, where she's, like, fully man, fully God. No. Fully human. And so it's like, she knows everything that we have to deal with, and she wants to help us with all of that.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of quotes that I've been seeing. One of the guys that's like, he's really like just a champion for like the rosary and for Mary is Saint Josemaria Escriva. And he there's this quote. It was really, really cool. I'm going to tie two quotes in together. So this one was St. Josemaria. Another one is, I think, St. Therese de Lisieux. But this, like, St. Josemaria's quote is basically like, just as like when we're walking through a dark alley and like we like see dogs, like, you know, coming through the gate, or like trying to get through the gates to like basically bite us, and we like go to our mother and like want to be, you know, close to our mother, hold our mother's hand. It's in that exact same way that we should be going to Mary. Like, if we feel that temptation, or if we feel that like kind of like that evil, like we feel kind of hopeless in a way, just like go to her and like ask, just, can I like hold your hand? Can you just walk with me through this? Like, she's definitely, yeah, she's so awesome. She's such a great comfort. And to like Saint Teresa Lisieux is like, she's the queen of heaven. Mary is the queen of heaven, but she is more a mother than a queen. And that was just kind of like, because before, like, when I would first get into my devotion with Mary and like I had consecrated myself, it was like Saint Louis de Montfort is like, we have to be, you know, like slaves to Mary, like chain yourself to her, stuff like that, which is awesome. And like when you go deeper into why he says that, it's just so beautiful. But like, I always be like, queen of heaven, prostrate myself, you know.
Yeah.
And now it's like, she's my mother, and it's just like my spiritual mother, and it's just so beautiful, like, that God gave us that gift of, like, he gave his whole complete self, including everything he had, which was his mother. Like, he had his mother, he had, you know, his brothers, he gave us Saint Joseph, like all the angels and saints. Like, it's just so awesome. Yeah.
Do you guys, Anna and Logan, what is your guys' relationship with Mary like? I feel like we haven't really heard, like, about your guys' relationship with her.
Yeah. She's beautiful. I love how you touch on, Andrew, like, how she's mother more than, or, like, so much, yeah, along with being queen, she's mother. And I definitely noticed that, like, in my relationship with her, she's so gentle, and she always comes to you, even if you're not quite able to get there yourself. I feel like she always comes to me in little ways, like maybe I'll pray for something and then kind of forget about it, and then it's like kind of peaks up again, but it's always in a place that I don't feel like Jesus would ever go unless I directly invited him. It's like she has this ability to get in my life because she's mom instead of Jesus, who's like,
she has mom vision.
She has mom vision. She can go wherever she wants.
Yeah.
She sees it. She knows. Yeah. So yeah, I definitely see that maternal like gentleness. But it's funny that you kind of ask like, oh, what's your relationship with Mary? Because I think for a while when I was little, I kind of had that Protestant vision of like, oh, back off, Mary, like you're not Jesus. You like, I don't know where I got it from.
Well, I mean, I feel like it's I think it's coming from like the right place, like in a way. I'm not trying to like say that we shouldn't have a devotion to Mary, but in some churches and in some communities, they do have such a heavy emphasis on devotion to Mary that's like, where's Jesus in this mass right now? You know, like we're carrying Mary statues around and we got incense and candles and flowers and it just kind of stacks on top of it, and it's like, oh yes, we should absolutely honor and venerate Mary. She is beautiful, she is wonderful. But we often see like that is all their relationship with their faith is. They don't have a relationship with God the Father. They don't have a relationship with the Holy Spirit. They don't have a relationship with Christ. And it's like, we need to have a relationship with all of them. And I understand, like, it's great that you have a strong devotion to Mary, but it's just worrisome. And so, because I was that way for a long, long time. It was like, guys, like, she's not God, right? She's not God. And so you guys need to be careful, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But, you know, what are your guys' opinions on that? Like, it's
like love Jesus, and he will take you to Mary, honestly.
Right.
That's literally, yeah. Like, I was having so much trouble when I was I first consecrated myself to Mary, like, 2 years ago. And, like, I was struggling. I was reading the book, and I was just like, I don't know. Like, I don't want to worship her. Like, we're not supposed to worship her. That's not what a devotion to her is, but it just felt like that because the only type of relationship that I had with Jesus was just kind of like a will, like it wasn't as strong as like me living out Jesus. It was just me knowing that he's there and me asking him for help. Now that like I've gotten closer to Jesus and God, like he's literally has just shown me like it's okay for you to go to my mother. Like I gave her to you for you to come to me. Like that's her whole role is to like raise warriors for Christ, like bring people closer to Christ. And so that was just like such a struggle for me at first. And I totally understand like a lot of Protestants, when they convert to Catholicism, that's one of the things, like that's the one thing that they can't, like just the last thing that, you know, they're in with the liturgy, they're in with the sacraments, they're in with the Catholic teaching, just Mary. Like what is the whole deal with Mary? Yep. And it's like, it's almost as if like where there's a point to where you have to be in your relationship with God to where you can kind of see how Mary plays into that, because it's not like Mary's not there to like take your relationship with God away. You first have to strive for a relationship with God, I feel. And if you're just like if you're Catholic and you're like, well, I mean, I don't really need a relationship with Jesus Christ because I have Mary. That's not how it's supposed to be. Like, you're supposed to have your relationship with Jesus Christ, and you go to Mary to get stronger in your relationship with Jesus Christ. Like, that's the whole point of consecrating yourself and devoting yourself to her. And I don't know, it's so it's really tricky. It's really, really tricky when you're first approaching it. But then after it's just like, yeah, like I can differentiate between praying to Mary and praying to Jesus. Like praying to Jesus is like, I give you my whole life and I want to see your face. Like we will be worshiping with you, like worshiping you, blah, blah, blah. And Mary's more of just like, can you please help me to be like you so I can love God more? Like that's it's a lot of help. That's what she does. Not necessarily like she doesn't save us. Like in a lot of ways she does. Like God gives her that ability to like save us in the way that she brings us to Jesus, you know? And that's like, it's very tricky. It's very like theologically, you know.
Yeah, there's a whole lot that goes into it, but I think childlike faith. That's what is being said over and over and over again. It's like, as adults, we find ourselves super caught up in, you know, the theology and the philosophy and the teachings and the you know, and it's like, yes, you need to educate yourself and you need to know all these things and study your catechism and, you know, study the church fathers, like, please, but also just trust, right? Mercy means help. It doesn't mean, oh, Father, sackcloth, ashes, right? It's Lord, grant, like, help me, have mercy on me. And so, I don't know, that's just for me. Once again, sorry, this is what's been coming out for me, is just have a childlike love. Like, go to Mary. She's your mom. Like, they want to have a familial relationship with us. So treat it as such, right?
Yeah.
You treat your family with the utmost of respect, so you don't have to worry about, like, disrespecting God and trying to have that kind of a relationship. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Logan? You're pretty quiet over there.
Yeah. No, I'm just ruminating over here.
How would Jack Sparrow respond
Oh,
by
no.
meeting Mary?
I don't know how strong of a Catholic he is, but I was just thinking, as Christians, right? Our whole goal is to point towards Christ, right? We're to point others towards Christ. When they look at us and look at our lives and look at how we act and we speak and we live our lives out, it's supposed to point to Christ. That's exactly what Mary does. If we're called to do that, how much more would she want, the mother of God, the mother of Jesus, want to do that and point people to her son? Not only because, like, our earthly mother wants the best for us, our heavenly mother wants the best for people on earth, which is to gain salvation through relationship with Jesus Christ, right? And so even you were talking about True Devotion to Mary by St. Louis de Montfort. Father Don Calloway, he did the consecration to St. Joseph, and it was actually through Mary that he came to Christ. His mother just had a strong devotion to Mary, not replacing Jesus, but a strong devotion. And so she just had, some books in her house, and he saw them and he picked them up and he started reading them. And he was like, who is this Mary, this mother of God, who, would do this and would live a life like this so that her son could, have his final victory, right? And so that's what brought him to Christ. So it happens, it happens that people find Mama Mary and she points them to Christ. That's her main goal. She doesn't deter Mary or any of the saints, don't detract from any of the glory that Jesus is owed and that he gets. But their whole life is supposed to be an example of how they lived for him, and that's why they are what they are. But more personally for me, I guess, Mary has kind of been like, and it's fine, like Trinity, you were saying, like, I don't feel a super strong calling to pray the rosary yet, or what, because for the longest time it's like, yeah, this is like super duper monotonous and boring and just, the same thing over and over and over again. But for me, she's actually, it's interesting, she's kind of been like an example of how to be chaste, I guess, in a way, which usually it's weird. As men, we'd look toward like Jesus or Saint Joseph especially, but I look at Mary and I pray to her, and she makes me, she drives me to want to be chaste, especially because of how she's like the perfect example of a woman of God, in a way. It's like whenever I, have a lustful thought or I start thinking one way or another, it's like, oh, Mama Mary, please help me, kind of run to her like I would to my mother's arms here on earth, and just be like, hey, I'm struggling with this. And I go to Jesus and St. Joseph too, because I know that they know what it feels like, but she's kind of like, I feel like on the receiving end, because she was so beautiful. I'm sure that she had a lot of that as well, men coveting her and whatnot. And not only did St. Joseph handle that with grace, but I'm sure that she did too. So I kind of like give myself a slap on the wrist whenever I, think lustfully or anything like that towards women, objectifying. I just think of Mary, and I'm like, I would never want to think of her like that if I saw her. And that kind of like completely cuts off, you know, like it makes me backtrack.
Well, too, like it's just like just our like masculinity is like when we encounter like true femininity and like like just the beauty of like femininity and stuff like that, like it drives us forward, like it inspires us, like we want to be better. And so when we encounter Mary like in that kind of vulnerability, you know, like of just being like, hey, I am a 20-year-old like 30-year-old male, please help me. You know, and but it's like her example of like just true femininity and like what a like woman, like her role was woman, like to be the new Eve, you know, to be what woman was supposed to be. Jesus obviously is what the new Adam. And so it's like, how do we like when we just ponder on that and like ponder on her, I feel like it just helps us to kind of get out of that and be like, there's a lot more to like to experience with femininity, just with that, like how you're saying, like how gentle she is, and you know, and like there's a lot that comes with just meditating on who she is, because not only does she like give us, like you were saying, an example of like how to live chastely and like how to live a life devoted to Christ, but like just as men, like she inspires us to kind of do better, you know.
Yeah,
like just to do better.
Personally, me, she kind of like snaps me straight, and I just want to like serve and protect. You're right, under the, you know, because it's true femininity, and it's like, hey, kind of refocus and realize what true femininity is, you know. So
I'm gonna hop in here really quick because I've been to lots of, you know, I've been to the women's conference, and I've been to, you know, talks and this and that, ICYCs and the women's talks, whatever, and they always talk about like true femininity. And honest to goodness, I don't really think I have that definition down yet. Like, Anna, what is true femininity?
Trinity, that's such a good question.
Like,
oh my gosh.
like, I don't know, maybe you have more knowledge than I do. I understand that like as women we're supposed to like you know, we're supposed to be caring and gentle and nurturing and a little bit more of like on the emotional side available to help, right? We're supposed to be examples of patience, but also virtue and chastity and purity and all of that. But I guess I just never really understood because just to share a little bit, like I've never felt like I've been very good at being a woman. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to look like. Does that make sense? Like how am I supposed to be a woman, but in the way that Trinity is supposed to be, you know? Like there's this idea of what culture thinks women should be, and then there's the idea of what I think people think the church wants women to be. And there's the in-between of true femininity, right? And I think we're kind of still trying to find that, you know? I follow Leah Darrow. I don't know if you've heard of her on Instagram, and she was a model, and she's a gorgeous woman, and she was on America's Next Top Model and whatever, and she was living a certain kind of lifestyle, and then she had this whole reversion moment, and now she has like this whole ministry and does podcasts and women's conferences and talks, and she has a family of like 6 or something, and she's just really good at like, she's a good illustration of like what I guess the Catholic Church expects me to be, right? To be the mom with all the kids and be the loving wife and whatever. But I just don't feel like I really fit into that image. And I feel like I'm not doing woman right, if that makes sense. You know? Like I was raised with all boys, and so I like to do that kind of stuff, you know, and I don't like to dress particularly feminine a lot of the time. And it's like, am I supposed to do those things? Like what am I supposed to be, you know, like as a woman? And so I want to you know, follow my vocation and do God's will, because that will be what brings me true happiness. But what is that? So whenever I sit through these talks and they're like, oh, you're going to be a great, you know, mother, and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And I'm like, well, what if I'm like, I don't know. What if I like, I don't want kids, You know, what if I don't feel called to motherhood? Or what if I don't feel called to marriage, but I do? But, you know, there's like all these questions that just kind of swirl inside of you, and you're like, am I being sinful, or am I just discerning? You know, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then where does being a woman fit into that?
Right.
Like, can you be a true woman, like, not married or not in your vocation? Like, what does that look like as a young adult? Yeah.
I think maybe just I guess this, you know, ties kind of into like just like femininity and masculinity. Like, I don't know, like kind of from what I heard, obviously I'm not a woman, so
no stress.
and
You're
you know,
allowed to have
I
an
don't,
opinion.
I still like promise you, I do not. Women are so super complicated. I will never be able to figure them out. So, you know, we'll never figure them out.
We can never figure ourselves out. Don't worry.
Full disclosure.
Yeah.
Nobody knows
Yeah,
except for Mary.
But one of the things is like that that I've heard just about Mary and like how women are to model her is not necessarily like a cookie cutter image, like a cookie cutter, like how you were saying, like you have to have kids in marriage, blah 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 blah, and like all this stuff. It's what Mary really did, and if you just look in the Bible and just like as her role of the new Eve, is to be totally and completely docile and like surrendered to the will of God, to the will of the Father. I think that's what I've heard is just kind of like that is the role of a woman, is to be that docility, to be like that gentleness, and to be that yes to Christ, that fiat, you know. And obviously men are supposed to do that too. Men are supposed to be docile to the Lord, and obviously we're the church, and the church is the bride of Christ. It's a feminine image showing like, yeah, we're docile to Christ, like he's our head. We completely surrender ourselves to him. But I think with men it's different, because it's not necessarily a it's not necessarily a docility without and this is the thing, like how do we separate like docility to be feminine and the masculine docility? But I think like just with how Saint Joseph was, it was, if you're gonna be docile to God, he's asking you to do something, like pick up your bags and go to Egypt, take your family to Egypt. Whereas like Mary, it was, I want you to let me do this. You know, kind of like those roles, like the role of being feminine, or being a female, and the role of being a male is so closely tied together. And I think when they come together, it's complete, to what the image of Christ is. Like that's what marriage is, right? It's like that's supposed to be a mirror of the love between Christ and us. But like, yeah, like femininity is just, I don't know, just from kind of being with Mary and just kind of like letting her into my life, she's kind of just showed me like, first of all, how much I have received Christ through just feminine like examples in my life. So like through my youth minister, through my mom, and through Mary. Like there's been a lot of role models on just like how to live Christ, how to be Christ-like, but like it makes me want to do better, because obviously I can't be Christ-like in the way that they can, because it's more tailored to the feminine, to the feminine role. But yeah, just I don't know, like it just keeps popping up, like docility, like complete surrender. Whereas like surrender in a way to where it's like, just let him love you. Like just like you don't have to do anything. Like, you know, it's almost like a little girl. Like imagine just, you know, how you have a little girl, and like a little girl is like one of the most purest, like a little baby girl is one of the most purest things in the whole world. like, you know, like if you have a little baby boy, you're like this is so awesome. This guy is gonna be a pain in the butt in
cool
2
guy.
years, you know.
I have 2 nephews, I know.
You know, like it's like but there's just something about like a baby girl that you just know, like you just want to take care of her, and you just want to provide, and you just want to like let her be still and like feel that comfort without her having to do anything. Like just, you know, give that love to her, which is I think what God kind of showed through Mary. You know, like Mary didn't perform the wedding of Cana herself, you know, or the miracle.
Right.
She asked Jesus, but being his mother was kind of just like, you know,
I think
like,
it's docility to each other, right? And that's what marriage is. You know, it's understanding this is my partner, right? So Eve came from the side of Adam, right? If we want to go back to the beginning, like she wasn't taken from his head, so she's not above him, and she wasn't taken from his feet, so she's not below him, right? Partners in everything. And so if we're looking at a parental figure, it's obedience and humility because that is our vocation as a child. But then when we become an adult, it's respect. Yeah, so docility in our vocation as children, and then when we grow up, it's docility in our vocation as a spouse, right? And I think that's what the secular culture keeps like, oh, you need to compromise, like marriage is 50-50 or whatever, you know?
it's 100.
Right, and to a degree they are correct insofar as sometimes you're going to have to give up like what you want to do. Sometimes they're going to irritate the crap out of you, and you have to be humble. Like humble yourself. Because it's hard to do that. Like there are so many times, even just having roommates, like they'll do something and I'll be like, this irritates the ever living crap out of me, and I want to flip my lid and like punch the wall because anger is the only emotion that I have. But it's like, but I have to humble myself in those moments and remember, like, I am in a journey like with these people, not like above them or below them or whatever, you know? And so we're all working on ourselves, and we can approach all of our relationships with each other that way. So with women, like we're supposed to be this gentle, calming, protective presence, which I am not.
Well, too, like, I mean, so even like think about it this way, like femininity is not necessarily like something that you can separate from like masculinity in a way, because both of them are rooted in Christ, and like the true, like God is love itself. There's no like he's just masculine love or he's just feminine love and he only gave feminine love to Mary, like to be that example. Like no, he is love. So it's like I feel like they're so closely intertwined together to the point where it's like you necessarily like you need one, like how it is, like how we were talking about Mary just like allowing us to just want to do better. Like we need true femininity in our lives to make us want to be better men. Like we can't separate that. But it's hard not to try to, because I think what you're saying, like just the culture is like, this is how a woman's supposed to be,
Right?
Like this is how a man's supposed to be. And even too, like a lot, like there's people in our church will say like, this is what a woman is supposed to be like, or
this is what they're supposed to look like,
and this is what a man is supposed to be like.
If you don't look that way, you're not a good woman, or whatever.
You should be part of this ministry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like if you're like, just be part of the prayer shawl ministry. You're not allowed to do the youth like. Like
go make a rosary.
Yeah. But it's like,
what are you doing wearing pants?
Yeah. But but it's like we
make me a sandwich.
Yeah. But just I feel like the nature of like I mean, as men we're supposed to tap into our masculinity, as women we're supposed to tap into our femininity, but femininity is not something that we can take away from masculinity, and vice versa. Like the opposite of masculine is not feminine, it's effeminate. It's being effeminate. Effeminate is like, I just want comfort, and I don't want to do anything, and I just want to be pleased, and blah 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 blah. Look at me, vanity, pride, blah, 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 blah. That's effeminacy. Like you're
it's taking all virtue
emasculating yourself by being effeminate, not by being feminine. Being feminine is so like beautiful. It's something that we as men have to look at, to say like like even just me, I'm just like, dang, my mom is like super good at just being empathetic with people. I wish I was more empathetic. Like stuff like that. Like it's not, we can't take it away.
Yeah.
You know, we can't like separate it. It's just so closely tied to, I mean, if we want to strive for love, we have to strive for sometimes being more feminine in a certain situation. Like, you know, don't be a prideful butthole. You know, like that, like men are very, like, one of the greatest sins is pride. You know, that was the fall of man.
I wouldn't say just for men.
Well, but you know what, but just mankind in general.
Anna and I are like,
yeah. But no, yeah. There's this quote that just kept going through my head as I was saying this, but I completely lost it. One of the saints, I might have been Saint Teresa de Avila. She was super, like, oh, I forgot who it was. No, it wasn't. It was a I think it was a priest talking, and he basically was like, the most feminine and like big, like the biggest saints that were females were like, they attributed masculine, like what males were supposed to like Saint Joan of Arc.
Oh,
you know?
Yeah.
Or like
having to take on those big leadership roles.
And also too, just like being fearless to surrender themselves and submit themselves to God, like having no fear in that.
Well,
you know?
I mean, sometimes we just have to be examples to each other.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, women are supposed to be examples for women. We're like, yes, we are. But then it's also like, no, we need to be examples for everybody. Like, you can't just, as you're saying, you can't separate those two things. And honestly, I mean, I guess what I'm hearing is I just need to ask St. Joseph and Mary for help in that, not just like Mary in asking for help on how to be, you know, find that true femininity, but also asking St. Joseph, because they're both an example, which I never thought about that way. So thank you for that. Sweet.
Yeah.
Alrighty, guys. What is our challenge for this month?
Love Mary, love the rosary.
Yeah.
Okay. Focusing on the rosary.
Yeah. Try to pray at least a decade every single day for a month. Just give it a go, because it will literally change your life. It will change your life, like 100%. If you want to further your if you just want to have more peace in your life, and like be able to just meditate on God, pray a rosary. And don't just say a rosary.
Right. Yeah.
Pray it.
a
Like,
rosary.
before you begin a mystery, like, contemplate and meditate on what's going on in that mystery, and just appreciate like what happened in the mystery. And there's so many things about the rosary.
So part 2, just the rosary.
So part 2, the
Starting
rosary.
now.
And then actually, this is my challenge. This is so cool. St. Padre Pio did this.
He's so passionate.
Allow your guardian angel to say the first part of the Hail Mary when you do the rosary. It's so baller. Like,
What?
just start the rosary, and on the Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, just be silent and let your guardian angel say it. Because the angels are saying Hail Mary in heaven, like they got that thing down,
Right.
You know. So it's really cool. Like, if you want to get closer to your guardian angel too, but if you want to make the rosary interesting, let your guardian angel in on it, and it's really cool. It's really fun.
Relationship with your guardian angel. That's like a whole nother
That's
episode.
a whole, yeah.
My goodness. He's got all the ideas over here.
Shoot him from half court.
Swish. I would say if you know yourself and you feel like you're not ready to pray the rosary or whatever, and let's say you have zero relationship with Mary, honestly, just start talking to Mary like every day. Because like my prayer life is very casual. Like, I'm like, hey Jesus, like, thank you for this day, this is what I'm dealing with. When I'm mad, I'm like, yo, I'm PO'd about this or whatever, you know. It's a very, very casual relationship, but that's how I pray. And if that's what you need to do, be like, hey Mary, like, I don't really have a relationship with you, but I would love to. Just start there and just think about her and keep bringing yourself back to her and to Christ in the small things. So like if you smell something good, you know, you'll be like, thank you, Jesus. Thank you for the smell. This was a gift. Or if your computer works, be like, thank you, Jesus. So then find things to be like, all right, Mary, like I need help with this. Or like, Mary, wrap me in your mantle because I'm feeling whether it be a temptation or, you know, I'm really tired and grumpy right now and I don't want to be gentle and I don't want to be docile and I want to do what I want to do. Like, Mary, pray for me that I have humility. So just keep like starting that process of bringing your thoughts back to Mary, and that will help build up to having a devotion to her.
Yeah, I think that's so important. Just keep coming back, like again and again. And that makes me think of how when I pray the rosary, you know, if you like your mind goes kind of elsewhere, finally you're in this place of prayer, it's peaceful, then all the thoughts start coming in. Don't be afraid to say, okay, no, I'm praying, I'm coming back, and to really try to pray. That's why I love the rosary so much, because it lets me realize, oh, I'm not praying, I'm so distracted, I'm just saying the words. And it's this constant reminder of, no, you actually have to work to pray.
Right. Well, I mean, just building the habit of praying the rosary is also helpful. So like maybe your mind does wander, but sometimes God gives you those thoughts so that you can start focusing on something that, you know, like almost a forced unintentional reflection. You know, like you'll start have thoughts during that time, right? Because it is very reflective. It can be very peaceful.
And then it's like with Mary.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So it's like maybe you're getting distracted, but just realize that maybe God is taking you somewhere with those thoughts, you know?
Yeah.
Be careful, but
really,
you know
really quickly too, like over the summer, one of the priests was giving a talk about how to strengthen your relationship with Mary. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a rosary. Just like if you just start doing maybe like a Lectio Divina or something, or just like, you know, meditating on the scenes in the Bible images, with Mary. One of the really, really powerful ones that sticks with me is during the Nativity. And, you know, Jesus is in the manger and you're just kind of like on the outskirts of the...
Looking in on the Nativity.
Looking in. Yeah. He said, allow her to, like, just imagine her picking up Jesus and, like, bringing him to you. And, let her give you him, and like let her, like, she's offering you to hold her son, like, you know. I just thought that was so sick, so that was, gotta say it.
Yeah, no, I mean, some people really need visual aid. So if that's, you know, yourself and you need a visual aid, then maybe, I don't know, maybe go to the store and get a coloring book. Like, if that's what you need, there are some gorgeous, like, stained glass coloring books, and you can reflect on those images, because it's still religious art. It's just, like, toned down so you can make it how you want it to look. And so take that opportunity to turn it into prayer. And if that's what you need to do, then do it. Like, there's no shame in that. Or find what brings you closer to God. And if it's something simple, great. If it's something childlike, honestly, even better. Like, childlike love, everyone. All right, how about you, Logan? You've been awfully quiet.
Yeah, no, Edward Sri, he was actually down here at Boise State a little while ago, but he's a Catholic theologian, and he's a real advocate for praying the rosary. And he said, even if you try to pray it and you're like, you know what, I'm the most distracted, I'm thinking about my dog, what I'm going to eat for dinner, what movie I'm going to see with my friends tomorrow. He said that's why a lot of people shy away from the rosary, from praying the rosary. But he said, even so, do not be afraid to pray that prayer, even a decade. If you don't, you know, he said that's why we have rosary bracelets. If you don't have a rosary bracelet, you have 10 fingers. So a decade of the rosary is Our Father, 10 Hail Marys, and a Glory Be. It can be said in 2 minutes throughout the day. But he said that even if you're distracted, don't let that shy you away, because even though your mind might not be completely focused on it, the words that you're saying are still scriptural, they're still holy, you're still speaking to God and speaking to Mary, and they still count for something. And so he said, don't let that shy you away from ever praying the rosary. And if you don't, you know, have a huge devotion to Mary, that's okay. Pray it anyway. I would encourage you guys to pray it anyway. And each of the mysteries, the point of the rosary is, yes, it's a Marian devotion, but it's about the life of Jesus through Mary's eyes, and it helps us to look at him through a new light, and it's all about him. That's all Mary wants to do, is just to point us to Christ. And so I would just encourage you, like Andrew said, to just try to pray a decade a day, if you can remember. Washing dishes, going to sleep, you know, taking a walk. You can do it anytime. It's super easy. So, and it's worth it. It's worth it. So, yeah.
100%. Alrighty, guys. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode. Really, really appreciate all of your support. Check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that kind of stuff. Please, please, please leave a rate and a review because it bumps up my searchability so more people can find the podcast. Please go and do that, guys. It takes 2 seconds, and I would really, really appreciate it. And go ahead and DM me on Instagram at The Salt Podcast. If you have ideas for content or episodes, or maybe you even have a guest that you know of, like, oh my gosh, I love this speaker, I would love to reach out and try to get them on the show for you. I've done it before, so I can try and do it again. So yeah, thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you next time.